Hi, everyone. I am so excited because I'm speaking with author Erin Stutland, and she has her book right in front of her, Mantras in Motion. Came out in January. Look at that cover. I love that cover. It's so
Yeah, thank you. Me too.
beautiful.
It's so pretty.
Oh, it is. It's beautiful. And I'm so happy we were getting to talk. I saw this book out there. I'm, on social media, and I'm so happy I got to read it. And I'm about to start the 14-day program.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. So, my first question, like, before I even opened it up was like, why, like, we all hear about mantras, but why should we be moving while we're saying mantras?
Yeah. Well, mantras are a great idea. We all know that speaking to ourselves positively with encouragement, with love is like the best thing that we can do. But what I've found in my experience and the experience of most people who use mantras or affirmations, it's that, they say it, but it's a very intellectual experience, right? Which is in most things in life. When we read a book or we absorb some information, we absorb it intellectually first. And oftentimes, as it pertains to mantras in particular, it kind of stops at that intellectual understanding. And really, to create real change in your life in any form, you have to have the experience of it. It's why people meditate, it's why people exercise, it's why people move. So, the reason why we pair mantras with movement in particular is because we want to give you the experience of these powerful words and not just an intellectual understanding.
I was realizing as little kids, right? I used to have to walk everywhere. Like, I grew up in a very small town and I walked everywhere. Not the case with my children, but I walked everywhere. And I remember like walking home from school and I would talk to myself with the beat of my walking.
Oh, that's great. And
Like,
what would you say?
Whatever I had to do, whatever, like, study algebra tonight. Like, I'd make like little rhyming things, or, you're awesome because you did this today, or, I
Wow.
don't know.
I
It's
love
like,
that you did that.
I think that sometimes the things that we want to make so hard are like things that as children we actually knew somewhere.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's what you just shared is such a beautiful and perfect example because you were taking what your to-do list or what you knew, what you had to do that night. And because you were putting it into motion and with rhythm, it was getting into your body, into your subconscious. I bet when you got home, you didn't even have to you didn't have to go and look at a to-do list. You had already kind of worked it out and felt it. And so that's really what we want. That's really what I want to give people with this experience is so that, these mantras that we use in the book, everything from this idea of being tuned into the present moment to feeling powerful to saying, I'm ready to take action. I will feel the fear and I will do it anyway. I want people to have that experience of what it feels like to be living that out. So that they can go forth and manifest what they want in their lives.
Yeah, and I think that also, back then, because I'm 54, well, I wasn't connected. I didn't have a phone. I didn't have, so
Right.
you're in your surrounding, you're in your moment because there's nothing distracting you from being in
Right.
that moment. And nowadays we have to be like, I'm putting my phone away, I'm putting my computer away, because it's almost scary to think that I'm going to turn my phone off. Like, that's just like, what if somebody calls me? Like,
I know. It's so true. And so even, when it comes to exercise, I see it at the gym all the
oh
time.
my
If like I'm
gosh.
on, people are kind of constantly checking in or because, you're using an app to exercise or whatnot. So
Yeah.
what's so beautiful about the mantras when you really start to get it into motion, even if you use them on a walk, right? Because I have this wonderful product called the Soul Stroll where people can use where it's me talking, giving you these mantras with music so that you can take it on a walk. um, it's just it helps to bring you into the present moment. And that's really where the magic of our lives happens when we allow ourselves to be fully in the present moment. When we're in our technology, when we're in our phone, we're sort of projecting out into the future, we're comparing ourselves to others, we're completely taking ourselves out of this present moment that can be so beautiful and so full if we allow ourselves to really live in it in a powerful way.
Yeah, and I was thinking about you. I was shopping at Target this morning, and I'm just, shopping at Target, like not doing anything. And I had this really negative thought, like putting myself down for something, but it was future projected. And I like stopped and I'm like, why are you like, why would you ruin looking at makeup at Target? Like, why am I
Yeah.
doing that? Is there anything I can do about that today? No, there's not. Like,
Right, right. Well, and I love that you just shared that, because I think there's so many of us out there who will be out in the world and something will get triggered by something and we'll have a negative thought and we'll sort of go into this whole spin out of a negative conversation. And, the most important conversation that you have every single day, and we have many conversations, we're texting, we're calling, we're talking. The most important conversation that you have every day is the one you have with yourself. And it has to be a powerful one, an inspiring one, and a kind and loving one. And I think so many of us, because of conditioning, because now of social media, because of being overwhelmed, we've forgotten how to have kind, compassionate, wonderful conversations with ourselves about ourselves. And the reason why these mantras are so powerful is because as you start to move with them, because it gives you the experience, these powerful and positive words are more at your fingertips, so that when you get triggered and you go into a negative conversation about the future or whatever it may be, you actually have access now to some other more positive, more powerful thoughts. So instead of getting stuck in a cycle, you can say, hold on a second. I have lived out, I have experienced that I am powerful now. I have experience, I am strong enough. I have experience of, I am tuned in, I am in the flow, I have all that I need, and the rest I let go. And because you have experience of that, it's much easier to stop the negative thinking and switch channels into a more loving conversation.
I love that. And I love, like, in your book when you talk about, like, kind of speak to your inner mind is like what I did today, kind of address it as you would address a child, or like, why are you saying such mean things to you? Like, because if you would hear it out loud, you'd be like, why are you saying that to yourself? That is so mean. Like, why are you
It's so
doing
mean.
that?
And you would never say that to a friend or to your own, your own child. And I think I was listening actually to an interview of this woman who runs this amazing company, and she was saying, like, one of her New Year's resolutions was to change her inner dialogue with herself. And if we
Yes.
can change our inner dialogue, and she said that of all of the resolutions she's ever, and she fulfills all of her, like, 4 out of the 5 resolutions she makes every year, of all the ones she's ever set for, she said this has been the most powerful one to
Yes.
shift. And I believe that, because I really believe when we can really shift that conversation that we have with ourselves to a kind and compassionate one, our whole world will change. Not only how we feel, which first and foremost is incredible, but also what we're willing to put ourselves out there for, what we're willing to show up for. So if in the past we put ourselves out there and it doesn't work out how we want, and we're used to having this negative conversation with ourselves as a result, you could have done better, you should have done better, you should have done this, we're
Right.
not going to want to put ourselves out there anymore. And
Right.
so just by changing that inner dialogue, we begin to say, you know what, I'll try, because I know on the other side of it, I'll be kind to myself, or I'll try to put myself out there when it comes to dating, or I'll try to put myself out there when it comes to business. It's one of the most important shifts that we can absolutely make, and it's worth working on.
Yeah, and you were so honest about your fertility issues in this book, which when everybody reads it, we won't go too deep into it because you can read about it. But what I loved and what I think about, what I took away from this book, because it's been with me since I finished reading it, is that when you were going through it, some of those things are really defeating for women. You feel less than, you feel like it should be the natural thing that our body does. And what I loved how you said is, like, when you went for treatments and to the doctors, like, you were like starting to feel like a rock star. You're like, I got this, I can do this, and you were
Yeah,
feeling more powerful. And I've been
yeah,
thinking about that with, like, my business, with my
yeah,
children, like, just different things. I'm like, when hard things come at us, don't take
yeah.
it as a defeatist, like, like I'm not enough. And I don't know. I think it could really, but then I was like, no, turn it around to be like, oh, look what I'm doing. Look what I get to face. Look what I
That's
get to
right.
face today.
And that I can handle it, and I can get through it, and I can get through it
Yes.
with grace. And yeah, I think we need to look at our challenges. Yes, it's so easy when we have a challenge to kind of get into that, why me? Why does this have to suck so bad? Why do I have to go through this? And that's okay. We all have that moment. That's
Right.
okay. But I share also in the book, my mom is an ovarian and breast cancer survivor. And I think, it was really, she was diagnosed with ovarian cancer when I was 18. So I was a young woman. And I think it was such a pivotal, defining moment in my life, because what happened for her, and she's still alive and with us today,
Yeah.
20 plus years later, which is incredible.
Crazy.
she really took that experience of this pretty traumatic and awful challenge, and instead of saying why me, say, she was very much like, this is what's happening. I'm going to put on my hat, I'm going to paint on my eyebrows, and I'm going to go out into the world and be the best version of myself that I can today, and take it one step at a time. And she really taught me what we get to do with challenges. When we're presented with a challenge, it's an opportunity.
Right.
And I think it really, again, comes down to what is the inner dialogue, the conversation that you're going to have with yourself when presented with a challenge. And not only do I, like I said, think that it determines your feelings, but I do believe it has a big impact on the outcome of the challenge as well.
Yeah, and I didn't even realize how much, I started to pay attention, and I think everybody should just pay attention, because reading your book, I was like, oh, I am mean. I am mean to myself.
Right.
Who's the
Right.
meanest person to me? Me. I'm the meanest person to me,
Totally. And it's so interesting. Right now I'm doing a meditation teacher training, it all in compassion, quite frankly, because I wanted to do something which, I'll be honest, at first, this is interesting. At first I was like, a meditation teacher training and compassion, that's not about like, it's not about manifesting more stuff. It's not about like, you know what I mean? Like, you're so used to kind of feeling like you need to do things that's going to help generate more business and whatnot. How is compassion really, okay, I know how to be compassionate, which I thought, and I do feel like I know how to be compassionate. This training has taken everything that I write about in my own mind and my own heart to another level. The importance of self-compassion and kindness, I so believe has the ability to change the world, to change how, first and foremost, how we treat ourselves, but how we treat others. And it's made me actually more passionate about what I teach in the book and what I'll be teaching moving forward.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I'm like, you know what? It just goes through along with the book and with what you're doing. And it takes that, because I feel the same way when I'm going to meditate. It's like, okay, so what do I want to manifest? And that's not, that's really not the way,
Totally, which is great. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? But I think one thing we don't realize that holds us up in the manifesting process is this way in which we talk to ourselves, whether it's not happening fast enough. Where is the thing? I didn't take the right actions. I don't know the right people. Like, there's all these inner dialogues that kind of come up, these invisible scripts, as some people like to call them, that come up when we're trying to manifest what we want. Yeah. And turning it into the sense of compassion and kindness, it just releases so much stress and tension, so that the outcome is that you actually are able to move forward with so much more ease, I believe, and actually confidence that you've got your own back. You're really building this sense of integrity and love with yourself, which I think is, a beautiful thing to build.
Yeah. Especially like for my generation, my parents were always taught me is that, you're going to rely on a man. Like, I didn't get to go to college because they paid for my brother. And they were like, well, you were going to get married. You're going to have children. I have 6 of them. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. And this was in the early 80s. And so I don't fault them for that. I mean, that's just, they were being very reasonable what they thought. But then what I realized, that especially as I got older and 2 divorces later, I might add, is that I did think that I needed a savior. Like, I needed a man to fix my problems. And now here I am 54, and I'm like, okay, could it just be that I could just save myself? Like, could that be the answer? That,
oh my God, I just got the chills.
Because
that's amazing.
Yeah, after all this time, after raising all these kids and now having 9 grandchildren, and just, and instead of looking outside, start to look inside and be like, well, maybe you can do it. Maybe you don't need to be looking anywhere else,
I mean, and I'll just say, the fact that you raised 6 children, I mean, the skills that you have are unmatched by most people out there. I mean,
I don't
truly,
know that they'd say that, but,
It's so true. I mean, they certainly, this culture certainly doesn't give mothers the due credit that is needed for raising one child. I have 1, and to have 6 is outstanding. So I have no doubt in my mind that you have skills beyond what most people have, quite frankly. But I think what you're saying here is so beautiful. And I just want to also just say, I so appreciate that you're out in the world doing this, talking about where you are, this stage of life, and showing people, even at 54 or 64 or at 74, we have the ability to create change. And, that's one of the very important things here, is that our brains, the neuroplasticity in our brains, has the ability to continue to change and improve. We are not stuck in a certain way of thinking, in a certain way of believing,
Right.
and we have the ability to change, whether it's through meditation or through mantras and motion. I mean, this information material, as long as you are digesting it again intellectually, but then making sure that you're also having the experience of it, that it's not just an intellectual
Right.
understanding, your brain will change. And that is amazing. That's a miracle in itself. And that you're out there, proving that it's possible right now in your life, which is
Well,
really
that's
wonderful.
why I really want to do this 14-day challenge, and I really want to do all the exercises. There are so many, everybody. I mean, and the not physical as much, there's journaling, and it's like I want to do all of that. I want to, I don't want to skip through, because I think there's a lot. I'm one of those where I'm like, why do I have to write it down? When you hear people say write it down, well, why do I have to write it down? I don't want to write it down. Well, I was reading Jen Sincero's book, You Are a Badass. It's big out there, and she said write it down. And one day I wrote down stuff, and I'm like, oh, I do feel better. It's like,
yeah. Well, I
write it
think
down.
that's why it's actually why I included. So in the book, there's at least I believe there are 12 journaling exercises.
Yes.
There are guided meditations, and then there's the movement and mantra portion as well. So you got this really well-rounded experience. And the reason why I put the journaling exercise in there is because, again, I think what happens is it takes it one level from an intellectual understanding, then we get a little deeper with the journaling, then we go a little deeper with the meditation, and then we put it into movement, and you really have this holistic full body experience. And I know from my experience and from obviously working with thousands of people around the world, this is what will create change when you have a full holistic full body experience. And it's important that we all begin to acknowledge, like, because we're so busy we scroll on Instagram, we see an inspiring meme, we're like, oh, that's so good, like it, and then, tomorrow, if I said to you, what was that meme you found inspiring yesterday? No idea. And so, we want to do less scrolling and more sort of souling, I'll say, and I just made that up, but
like that.
you know what I mean? We want to I want everyone to really just remember that it's one thing to just scroll and get, some inspiration. It's another thing to really, I almost have to say, you're almost like wasting your time if you're only getting intellectual understanding of these changes that you want to create in yourself. Give yourself, and it doesn't take a lot, with the movements and mantras that I have in the book, it's 5 minutes a day. 5 minutes a day can have a huge impact and give you that experiential feeling of power, of peace, of confidence, of compassion, of kindness, is really all it takes. So instead of scrolling for 5 minutes, use that opportunity to really have an experience of what it is that you want in life.
Yes, absolutely. And I saw on your website, everybody can go over there. You get the book, and then you can get aren't there videos that are attached to it that they can watch, right?
Yep. So if you go to erinstutland.com/book, I have a free gift for you. So you can get a free video. So you'll get one video that you can do with me. So you can kind of see how this whole thing works. And then, of course, if you get the book, there's access to more videos inside the book.
Yes. I'm definitely going to do that, because I like watching too. I like watching somebody do it. So, I get caught up in the perfection of doing it, but I know it doesn't really matter if it's perfect, but
it matters the least of all things. Doing it perfectly is at the bottom of things that matter when it comes to doing this. It's really about getting up and doing your very best. I believe you do your best, you leave the rest, and then your best continually gets better. But you have to keep showing up and doing your best. Whatever your best is today. Some days your best is here. Some days your best is here. That's okay. But every day that we show up and we say, I'm just going to do the best I can, that's when our best begins to really improve and expand.
I love that. Okay, so this book is out. Are you working on any other books right now before I let you go?
Not yet. My publisher said, are you ready for another one? I said, no, not at all. What we are working on that I'm very excited about, and depending on when you're seeing or listening to this interview, it may already be here, but we are going to be starting a membership program starting soon, where you're going to have access to tons of content, to workout videos, movement and mantra videos, a library of soul strolls. I'll be coaching in there, and obviously an incredible community. So that's coming very soon.
Oh, that'll be fun. I like that idea. I really
Yeah,
do.
you're gonna love it. It's gonna be perfect for you.
I know. I really like that, especially because you can check in and see
Mm-hmm.
what's going on and then have it right there. And I do walk all the time. So, we got
Yeah. Yeah. We're going to take you back to your, like, childhood days of
That's
walking
right.
and, like, saying things.
That's right. We'll show everybody the cover. I'm going to have her website listed below. I will have the IndieBound link so you can go to your local bookstore. And if you want the digital, I'll have that link and you can go get that. And I am so happy that I got to read this book. There are things in it that I've carried with me. I've read this book like 2 weeks ago and I still hear things from that book and it just sticks with you. And, and that's the best compliment I can give you is that it just sticks with you. So anyway, I can't wait to see what else you have. And I'll see you on social media and everything will be, I'll see all the membership stuff there. So
yes,
we'll
definitely.
stay in touch. Thank you so much, Erin.
Thanks for having me.
Okay. Have a great day.
You too.
All right. Bye-bye.